Hello. In this session, we will explore a bit about Kotlin functions and variables. Here is a very basic Kotlin function. It accepts two numbers and returns sum of them. Let's know more about different parts of function syntax. It starts with keyword fun, which stands for function, and then function name, sum in this case. Function sum accepts two parameters, a and b. Both are of type integer or int. We can see parameter name and data type are separated by colon. See b colon int. First parameter name and then its type. Next part is return type of the function int. Code block within curly braces is called body. This is sometimes called block body. If the function body is a single returning expression, like here, it's just one statement, return a plus b, or it's just one expression which is returning some value. So when this is the case, it can be simplified. For example, here you can see function sum accepting two parameters a and b and then return type equals to a plus b, which is different than here. Here we are using curly braces, but here we are not using curly braces. We are having a equals and return type is also removed. So if the function body is a single returning expression, there is a way to simplify the function. Remove the curly braces, use an equals to sign, and no need to use return keyword too. You can simplify it further. You can remove return type also, like this. In this case, return type int is removed. It was used here and now it is removed. Kotlin is smart in evaluation of the type of the expression, and return type inference is done by that. There are two ways to define variable in Kotlin: keyword vel and where. Now let's talk about variables in Kotlin. These are a couple of the example here. Vel code equals to something something. Vel year equals to 2021. Here 2021 is an integer assigned to the variable year. Val independence year colon int equals to 1947. 1947 is an integer assigned to independence here. But we have explicitly mentioned data type integer here. So data type is optional in the cases where we have not mentioned Kotlin infer the type smartly. For example, well price equals to 23.45. It's a double, but Kotlin will infer it by itself even without mentioning the type double here. Well stock price equals to get stock price. So the return type of the get stock price function is type of the well stock price. Data type is optional, but of course with an exception. When initialization is not done at the time of declaration of variable, return type is required, else code do not compile. In this case, vel code, which is initialized at another place, is not going to work if we do not mention the type of code here, because Kotlin will not be able to infer the type of code if there is no initializer and there is no type mentioned to it. That's why val code is not going to compile. Val code colon string is going to work perfectly. Val is mutable reference. When keyword val is used to define a variable and initialization is also done, it do not allow reassigning the new value to this variable. Okay, so once something is assigned to a variable which starts with keyword vel, you cannot reassign it. It's kind of fixed. Var is an immutable reference. When keyword var is used, it can be reassigned a new value. For example, well, independence year equals to 1947. If you want to change it to something else like 1948, you cannot change it because it starts with well, and well is a mutable reference, right? Independence year is a mutable reference because it starts with keyword well, so you cannot change it. While other example, where current year equals to 2021, you can change it because where is immutable reference, value can be changed. But remember one thing, you can change or reassign a value to a var, but you cannot change its type. For example, var current year equals to 2021. You can assign a new value to it, maybe 2022, but you cannot change its type. Kotlin use type inference to figure out that it's a integer type. If you want to assign a string to current year, you will not be able to assign it. Now is the time to do some hands-on. Let's try creating few functions and variables. This is the same Kotlin project which we did set up in one of our previous session. Let's try to use it to do some hands-on for today's session. Let's create a Kotlin file. Go here. We want to create a Java class or file. Let's go with file. Let's name it something like let me try to zoom it for better readability. I think that should be fine. Okay. Let's try to create a function. Function in Kotlin starts with fun keyword, the name of the function, parameter a, which is of type int, integer, another parameter of type integer. We want to mention the return type also. This is a function named sum. It accepts two parameters, a and b. Both are of type integer. This function has a return type of int. Now let's try to add some logic here. One thing which you must have noticed, like Java, we have not created any class. So Kotlin allows us to write a function even without creating a class. Another thing, we have not used semicolon here. You can use it, but you do not need it in Kotlin. Okay, so this is a simple function. Now let's try to test it. This is the main function. Here I'm trying to invoke the function with values 2 and 3. Again, you do not need semicolon, so you can remove it. Let's try to put it inside a print block just to see what is the result of some function. Output is 5. Let me zoom this for you. Yeah, so output is 5. Let me show you it with another value, let's say 6. Output is 8. So it's working perfectly fine. Since this is a single expression which is returning a value, there is a possibility of simplifying this method. We can get rid of this block like this. Instead of block, the equals to, remove the return, and you can move it here. Okay, so this is the simplified version of sum method when it have just one expression. Let's try to execute it again. Okay, let me zoom it. See, output is 8. There is a way we can simplify this function further. Let's try to remove the return type. Here, Kotlin is smart in type inferencing, so it will infer the type of this expression, and that's how it decides what is the return type of the sum function. Let's try to run this function and let's see what happens. Cool. Output is 8 again. Let's try one more example. Okay, let's get rid of this function and write another function. Convert to uppercase. It is supposed to accept a message which is of type string. It has a return type of a string. So plan is to use a variable uppercase. Let's make it uppercase message, and then return uppercase message and add something to it, all in upper. Right. Now here invoke this function, convert to uppercase. Hello. See, it is converted into uppercase. Now one thing which I want to show you, that this function has two expressions, right? 1 and 2. So if I want to simplify this function by getting rid of these curly braces and using equals to, this is not going to work, right? So to simplify the function, to make it an expression body instead of a block body, you need to have a single expression. Function body within curly braces is called block body, and function body, when we use equals to, it's called a expression body. Now let me demonstrate same concept. Okay, so we have a function here, greet. This is the parameter name, this is the parameter type, this is the function return type, this is a block body, and this is just one expression. I can simplify this here this way. So it should work now. Okay. Now another stage to simplify this block body to expression body is get rid of these curly braces, put a equals to, and it should be good to go. We can get rid of return also. Right. It's working perfectly fine. We can further simplify it. We can get rid of this part. Further, you can make it better readable if you want. So we have reduced a function which was quite bulkier to look, and now it's just a one-liner function. Let's try to execute it with some other value. Here it is returned. So it's working fine. This is a Kotlin file which I have already created to demonstrate the example related to usage of var and val to create the variables in Kotlin. Let's see some quick creation of variables. Okay, so here we are able to create code by Mark Twain variable using the keyword val, and we have initialized it with a string. Let's try to create another variable. Okay, so stock price is another variable which is assigned a double, and val is a keyword which is used. Now try to create a variable using the keyword var. Okay, so code by Steve Jobs is a var. Okay, it is initialized with this string. Let's try to reassign the values to the variables which we have already created. For example, let's just start with trying to assign a new value here. Any random stuff. It is not allowing because val cannot be reassigned, as we have already seen in the session. Now let's try to reassign code by Steve Jobs to something else and create or anything, any random text. We are able to assign it something else. Okay, so vars are something where we can assign another value, but val is something where we cannot assign something new to it once it is initialized. Now let's try to assign it a string, integer. We are not able to assign the integer because when we have initialized it here, its type is already decided because we assigned a string to it, so it can accept only string. It cannot accept integer. The integer literal does not conform to the expected type string. Let me get rid of this. Now I'll try to create a variable price. I will define the type also, 3.25 something. Okay, we are able to create a variable and we have defined the type also double. We have not defined the type here, here, or here, so it looks like type is pretty much optional. But let me show you one thing where it's an exception. Okay. Here we have seen that type is optional, so we have not given it any type, and now we are trying to assign it 23, but it's giving us error because this variable must either have a type annotation or be initialized. So if you are initializing a variable at some other stage, you need to define its type here. Otherwise, it's not going to work. We can use integer also here since 23 is an integer, right? But it's compiled now. See you in the next session. Stay tuned. Happy coding.